Restoring a vehicle. Done right, it can be one of the most rewarding things you can ever undertake. Done wrong, it can turn your life upside down. Shake the money out of your pockets and squeeze the sanity from your brain. Stacey David's Restoration Series is here to help you do it right. So you can keep your money and your sanity. And enjoy the fruits of your labor. So grab a wrench and let's get cranking. Stacey David's Restoration Series is brought to you by LMC Truck, Keep 'em on the road, and Cornwell Tools, the choice of professionals.
When you take on a car or truck project, the first thing that people usually do is think about all the stuff that they want to do to their project, from the interior to the engine to the paint, the wheels, the tires, everything. And once they've let their mind kind of go crazy, usually reality pulls them back and they go, okay, what do I need to do first that's going to give me the best bang for my buck? Now, obviously, the engine is important and the interior and the paint and all that stuff. But if you're going to drive the vehicle a lot on modern roads at freeway speeds, you have got to have a suspension that's going to be able to do that and is going to be able to handle the engine you're putting in and the way you're going to drive it. So today we're going to be talking about suspension and how to modify it or restore it original. Now, back in the day when you restored a car or a truck, you basically restored the original suspension and you lived with it, good or bad. If you wanted a custom suspension, you either built it yourself or you salvaged something out of a junkyard and modified it to work. The results of this were sometimes really good. Sometimes they were really bad. Fortunately, the aftermarket saw a need and slowly began to offer new and updated suspensions and components for the enthusiasts to put on their cars and trucks. And the age of the Resto Mod was born with updated handling and braking. The only problem now is navigating a huge aftermarket and deciding what you need and what you don't need. So we're going to try and help clear that up for you. Okay, if you've watched any of our other Gears Restoration Series shows, you know that the first step is always to decide what level of project that you want to build based on the 5 main levels shown here, with number 1 being the easiest, number 5 being the most difficult. Now, once you've done that, the second step is to plan out the project with a project planning book so it doesn't run away with you and you don't end up with a project that you didn't plan for or that you didn't budget for. Now, once that's done, laying out your suspension's pretty simple because you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to restore or modify the original suspension, or you're going to completely get rid of it and put in something new and different. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This 86 square body Chevy truck is a 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive, which means it came from the factory with leaf springs. Leaf springs go clear back to the stagecoach days, and you can still find them on newer trucks. So obviously they work, and the reason why is simplicity. The leaf spring not only supports the weight of the vehicle, it provides suspension movement as the spring compresses. If you add a shock to dampen the movement of the spring, you have a basic suspension. The leaf spring also mounts the rear axle solidly to the frame, so there's no front to back or side to side movement. This means no additional link bars or pattern bars needed, unless you start adding more horsepower, and we'll address that in a minute. The best part about leaf springs is that they're cheap and they're tough and they'll handle off-road abuse and any modern type of driving that you want to do. So there's really no need to convert to a different type of suspension, just upgrade what you've got based on how you plan to use it. For example, since we're building this truck to be tough and off-road capable, we installed new leaf springs and a shackle flip that gave us 6 inches of lift. This was necessary to clear the 37-inch tall tires. The front axles and spindles were also upgraded with stronger components, as well as the ball joints and tie rod and steering box, to handle the extra stress of the bigger motor and tires. And of course, anytime you add bigger tires, you need to take your brakes into consideration. So we rebuilt everything with new heavy-duty components from LMC Truck. And this is a great example on how you can rebuild and upgrade a stock suspension on a reasonable budget to give you something that's better than stock, but you can still drive it every day. Now, you may be asking, okay, so when would I actually want to change this out for something completely different? Well, if you were going to put on this size of tire, or drop in a zillion horsepower, or go drag racing with the vehicle, or want to run road courses, or that kind of thing, yeah, you probably want to get rid of these leaf springs and put on something a little more applicable. So that's why it's important that you decide what you eventually want to do with the vehicle before you get started, because that's going to dictate everything else you lay out on the vehicle. For example, 54-inch tall tires and a high horsepower engine are going to require a custom 4-link or trailing arm suspension, as well as custom shocks and a bunch of fabrication and design work to make it all function properly and handle the abuse of those big tires and that motor are going to dish out. A massive engine and big slicks is going to require a 4-link or a ladder bar setup if you plan on using that engine properly to smoke the tires and rip down the drag strip or the street safely. If running road courses and autocrossing is your thing, a lowered suspension with adjustable coilover shocks and big brakes is a must if you're going to run and play with the big boys. Okay, let's say that you want to build something capable of doing all those kind of things. The next question, obviously, is what's involved in converting your suspension to a modern aftermarket suspension? Fortunately, it's fairly simple because there's basically two types of aftermarket suspensions, weld-in style and bolt-in style. Take a look. The bolt-in style front suspension is going to utilize your stock crossmember or frame rails, and this will allow you to bolt on new control arms, shocks, spindles, rack and pinion steering, sway bar, and disc brakes. This is usually the type of project that you're going to find in a level 2 or a level 3 build. A weld-in style front suspension moves to a higher difficulty level since it's going to require the removal of your original crossmember, usually with a Sawzall or a plasma cutter. And then you're going to need to weld the new crossmember in place. Now, all of these tools and skills are things that are normally found in a level 4 or a level 5 project. Now, after all the fab work is done, then the new suspension components will simply bolt in place. For rear suspension upgrades, the choices are similar, as there are bolt-in and weld-in suspensions available as well. Okay, that brings up the next questions. What kind of suspensions are out there, and how exactly do they work? Well, on the front end of a vehicle, obviously you have the leaf spring solid axle suspension, like you see on this truck, and then there is the independent front suspension, and manufacturers have been doing a version of that since clear back in the 1940s. This consists of upper and lower control arms that are connected with ball joints to a spindle that holds the brakes and the wheel assembly. The spindles are turned with a tie rod that connects to the steering box or the rack and pinion. A spring and shock, a coilover shock, an airbag, or a torsion bar have all been used over the years to control the compression and rebound of this type of suspension. Rear suspensions usually break down into 3 types. One is a solid axle with leaf springs like you see here. The second is a solid axle with a 3-link, 4-link ladder bar or torque arm. Now, these also use coilover shocks or airbags to control suspension movement, but they also require a Panhard bar or a Watts link to center the rear end housing in the frame and to keep it from moving from side to side. Then finally, there's the independent rear suspension. Now, this is where the differential is solidly mounted to the frame in the center. Then you have upper and lower control arms and spindles mounted outboard, as well as coilover shocks to control the movement of the suspension, similar to what you'd find on the independent front suspension. However, the big difference is that separate axle shafts connect the differential to the hubs and supply power to the wheels. Now, obviously, there's a lot that goes into installing and tuning all of these types of suspensions, and we're going to cover all that on future shows. But hopefully this show gives you an idea of what's out there, and hopefully will help you lay out your suspension so you can build it the way you plan to use the vehicle. Because the more knowledge that you're armed with, the better choices you're going to make, which will ultimately lead to you driving down the road in a finished vehicle on a safe suspension.